Hello, everybody. It's me, Lemoni. Happy Monday. I'm here to make your week just a little bit better. I hope you have a great Monday, and let's keep it going through the rest of the week. So today I want to show you my version of the what I call Winter Soldier, which I think is more of a hybrid build. Now, you can do damage, and you do a solid amount with the setup I'm going to give you, but I would argue that you're more of a support. You're going to be chasing down targets, slowing them, rooting them, and setting up these kills for your team. But you do have the potential to set up some really nice 1v1s, 1v2s, and you could certainly modify the damage to be more of an assassin. I played it in light armor and did that, played it in medium, and I just thought this is more fun. It gave my team a lot more opportunity to snag some easy kills. You'll be setting up a lot of things with your ice gauntlet, and we have some cool synergy with the sword. We've got some stuff cooking. So before we get into things, I appreciate all the support that all of you have been giving me. If you want to connect with me, drop a comment, join our Discord, follow us on Twitch. We'll be streaming today. Follow our Twitter, our TikTok, all that stuff will be linked. And if you want to support me directly, I do have a Patreon. But if you're interested in joining our company, let me know, DM me in some way. We are on Eden, which is NA East, and we are Covenant. So let's get into this video a little bit. Like I'm saying, it's not normally one that you would think is a support build, but I would argue it is a heavy support setup. We'll be chasing people down. We have tons of gap closers, and we have a lot of opportunity to secure kills for the team, right? I love securing kills if you've watched the live stream, but it's mainly a PvP build. I'll give you my version of the PvP setup, but I'll also walk you through how you could play it in PvE and show you some gameplay of that. So sit back, relax, let's get your Monday started right with our version of this Winter Soldier setup. All right, so let's get into the build. Let's start with the sword here. Again, the emphasis here is CC, mobility, and just keeping enemies locked down. So the big thing in PvP is that you're mainly kind of a support to set up your other teammates who are going to do some really, really high damage numbers, but you can still put out a ton yourself. And the big emphasis is that we're taking leadership to give everybody another 10% damage. So just going into it, Swordmaster side, we need all of these passives that I have so that we can get to leadership. So we'll be taking successful empowers on heavy attacks. That we get that 30% empower just so that we can do our own damage. You can 1v1 pretty well, 1v2 when you're in that setup. We'll take Achilles heel so that we get a slow on our last light hit. And then we'll take that with synergy for opportunists to get 10% more damage to slowed foes. This works really well with the Ice Gauntlet too because they're constantly slowed when you're using your Ice Storm ability. We'll then take Precision and just get another crit chance. 10% is really nice, synergizing with everything else we have in the setup. We'll take Freeing Justice so we can get rid of our own debuffs. You know, maybe if you're rooted or if somebody's running up at you and you have something on you, you can get rid of it pretty easily because we'll be heavy attacking anyway. And then just as another filler, because I don't like any of these two, we'll take Counterattack. Sometimes you do throw up that block with the round shield. You can get a nice little empower there, stacks up to 15%. And then a nice one for PvP, especially is Critical Precision. We do crit a lot, so we have pretty much a constant 20% haste, and that's really nice. Now, with Leaping Strike, we get that 6-meter leap. This is huge. It's a little hard to aim, but when you do land it, it staggers them. And then when you stagger them, you can get them in a stagger chain where we Leaping Strike them, you then Shield Brush them, and then you can Shield Bash them, and then you can put down your Ice Shower, keep them rooted, and just keep the combo going. It's pretty devastating for them. So the nice thing about Leaping Strike is, one, it does more damage than they're below health. So typically, when people start to run away, they're below 30% health, right? So we have that 50% damage boost, meaning then you hit them in the back, you get this big chunky hit as they're running away. And the best part is, if it hits them in the back, they have an 8-second 50% slow, meaning if you can't catch them, you've at least got this slow on them, and somebody else will get them and kill them. And then the big thing, 10% more damage for everybody in your group. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply in OPR all the time. Maybe you go in with a 5-stack, or maybe you're even by yourself. This 10% damage is nice. And then when you throw this in PvE, it's really, really, really nice. I would highly suggest having a sword and shield with a leadership, even on a DPS for mutators. I think it's going to be part of the meta, so keep your eye on that, because who cares? Maybe if you're doing a little bit less damage, you're giving 4 other people in your group 10% more damage. So healer and tank included, obviously. I think that's going to have a ton of value, and a lot of people will be sleeping on sword and shield DPS. Now on the defender side, we just take these two just to be a little bit more tanky. We get that 10% magic reduction, 15% physical armor, and then we might as well just take something like Final Blow, because we're going to be aiming for those three hits for the slow. So then just take a little bit more damage on it. And this is great for PvE, just for damage output. You shouldn't really rip Threat with that much in there. I would be absolutely shocked. Then we take Shield Rush, and again, the big thing with Shield Rush is it is interrupted. I can't tell you how many people I've interrupted when they're doing a fire charge to get away, or they're trying to use some kind of mobility to get away. You hit them with it and they can't do anything, and then they just get blown up. It hits pretty hard. And then we do actually take Improved Brush just to put that weaken on everybody. That is very, very strong in those AoE fights with all those Sword and Shield boys and all the Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet people. So keep that in mind. Now, something you could do in PvP specifically is remove Final Blow and actually take Intimidating Rush to get this big slow, another 30% slow for everybody hit by your Shield Rush, just so that you can help your team out. Totally up to you. So I would say, you could maybe flex that point. Now, for Shield Bash, we take this. It's a 2-second stun, but I actually take this to make it a 3-second because of the way your timers work. If you hit them with just a general, like vanilla Shield Bash with the 2-second, you don't have enough time to line up your Ice Shower, meaning they can get away. So if you take that 3-second, it's the sweet spot where you can really keep them locked down and do a ton of extra damage. We'll just take the bonus damage on Shield Bash, and boom, there you go. So for PvP, actually, here's how I would spec it. So we're just going to go back into it. We'll take this. We'll go here. We will take this. We'll take this, and this. And then we'll take Leadership. Then we'll take these. And then what I will say is we want this 3-second stun, but you can also opt for the slow. So if you really, really, really want to go the slow route, you can take it like, that way. But I would say the stun is a little bit more effective. Now, if I was going to be PvEing in this build, how would I change it? I would take out Leaping Strike and get rid of those points and essentially just flip them into either Reverse Stab or Whirling Blade. Honestly, for me, I would suggest probably taking Whirling Blade for the Rend. I think the Rend is really, really, really nice, and then you take Empowering Whirling Blade, and it's really nice for AoE, and it does a lot of single target damage. Reverse Stab is nice, but you're going to get more damage not from your abilities and more so just left clicking. I'm not going to lie to you. That's where a lot of your damage is going to come from in a build like this. And yes, Reverse Stab is nice. You get the grit. It's pretty big and you get these cooldown reductions. I'm not really going to be using those that much. And this is incredibly difficult to land in PvP. But so for PvE, I would do this. So if you're coming from the bookmark, what I would tell you is for PvP build, I would do something like this setup. And then you can switch between the stun or the slow. And this stun is really nice to have at 3 seconds so that you can actually land your Ice Shower. If you're trying to do PvE, sorry, I almost said PvP, I would just take these out of Leaping Strike and probably go into Whirling Blade, and boom, there you go. So enjoy. It's a fun build, lots of mobility, lots of lockdown, and you should be able to get a lot of targets set up for your team. Now for the Ice Gauntlet side of things, here's what it's going to look like. We're going to go pretty default on it. Honestly, this is a build I would typically use if I was an Ice Gauntlet main. It's nothing out of the ordinary. There would be one thing I would consider doing for PvE again, but this is the big one. Everybody's pretty familiar with this setup. The big thing is Ice Storm, and then we're going into Ultimate Chill. Now, the really important thing for Ultimate Chill is that this does apply to the Aquamarine on your sword. So whenever they're getting hit by Ice Storm, or if they've gotten hit by Ice Shower, you can now do it a 25% increased ice damage if you have that Aquamarine in your sword. Hence why I have it in there. Learned that from my guy Brady. Check out his channel. If you haven't, he'll be linked in the description. So thank you for making me aware of that. But it's really good in this build because, we're going to be throwing down the Ice Storm to keep them slowed, keep them CC'd, do a lot of AoE for the team, but it's also just going to impact our single target damage output. And then the more people that are in it, the more damage it does. And it is fantastic. So again, we'll be going into just all of these passives because we have to get to Ultimate Chill. But the big thing is getting Ice Storm. And then what you can do is once you've hit them with Ice Storm and they have Unending Thaw on your gear somewhere, they get that still the effect from it from Ice Storm for an extra 2 seconds after they've left it, meaning we have a huge opportunity to hit a heavy freeze. When you heavy attack right after that, you can root them, which will then allow you to close the gap or maybe set up a kill for your team. Then we'll go into Ice Shower. The big thing with Ice Shower is, again, it sets up this kind of Ultimate Chill, but it is going to apply a root and it's going to apply a rend. So we get a 10% rend here for, it doesn't actually tell you the duration, but The big thing is you can also apply a dot component to that, and then we get that root to then set up the stun, or vice versa, or we stun to set up the root, and then we just start pumping out damage. And then because they're frosted, we get more ice damage, and then we just start blowing people up. Or again, the big thing is that even if you aren't doing a ton of damage output, we can fight for a long time and keep everybody CC'd and debuffed for our entire team. So that is the big thing. And then we just throw Entomb in the back pocket, maybe overextend it a bit. I don't know, whatever you're doing. And typically, honestly, I'm not going into Defiant Freeze just because we're swapping weapons so much. So I haven't been doing that because this 20% Fortify actually goes away whenever we weapon swap. And a lot of the time, I'll do something on my Ice Gauntlet, switch to my sword, do something on my Ice Gauntlet, switch to my sword, and then we just get no use out of that. So we might as well just take away to drop all of our debuffs if stuff's on us. You can pop it while you're rooted, you can do whatever and cleanse it all off. So just keep that in your back pocket. But the whole goal of this Ice Gauntlet is drop down Ice Storm so that we get Ultimate Chill so we can proc it on our sword and then do some extra damage. And then we have all kinds of ways to slow and root and just generally CC the other team so that we can set up kills for the rest of our team or kills for ourselves. So if you're coming from the bookmark, this is the build I would suggest for the Winter Soldier kind of PvP setup, keeping people rooted, doing some good AoE damage, and then applying Ultimate Chill to your Aquamarine. Now, if I was strictly PvEing, I would potentially consider doing something like this. So again, we have our PvP setup, but we're still going to want this ultimate so we get more damage. You'll throw this down and you want to fight with your sword in it. You're getting free damage from this, and you're getting free damage when everybody's inside of it. But if we're PvEing, I really probably wouldn't run Ice Shower. You're going to have enough rend in your group that you're not going to have to apply it, quite honestly. And I would actually go into Ice Pylon people. It's free damage. You can still take Entombed, or if you want the Ice Shower, you can, but you're not going to reach that. I would take Entombed, and then you could, I guess, take this, something like that if you're going to do this in PvE. I don't really see a ton of PvE viability for Ice Shower when we're playing with a sword and shield. You can put down Ice Pylon and then dash every once in a while, get increased rate of fire. And this is hitting pretty hard even without much int in it. You put an opal in your Ice Gauntlet and it synergizes with that, and it just keeps doing more damage. So it's just another constant damage source. You put it down in the back pocket, free damage output. Why not? So that's the PvE version. All right, the attributes I'm running in this setup, it's a little weird. So I'm going to pull out the sword and shield so you can see it correctly. And then I'm actually going to, yeah, I should be good. I can hit one of my foods too, just so you can properly see it. I've been using this tier 5 just to get some strength and con. So we go there. I want a little bit more health. I'm playing at 150 con, 100 int, 50 dex, and 187 strength. Obviously, you can change some of these numbers up, but why did I do what I did? So one, I want the bonus for increased light attack damage, heavy attack damage, and then we get some stamina damage here. Ideally, we could pump this strength up to 200, but it's 10% damage on stun, slowed, or rooted enemies, which we do a lot of that. And so that's really, really nice and synergizes with the build. But I wanted to test some other things and go into more crit heavy. So what I did then was I went for the 50 dex bubble to get that 5% chance to crit. And then I went into the 100 int to get 10% crit hit damage. And then we get some of this int, and that scales with the ice. And then it works really, really well when you have that ultimate chill on. And it's fantastic. And then we play with 150 con in medium armor so that we can survive. I tried playing this in light. It just doesn't work. We don't have any really survivability. And so you don't do enough damage to blow people up, but you still can. It's a little tougher. But what we can do is really set up our team to get some good kills. We can stay in the fight really long and then just put out more persistent, constant damage. But the big reason why we take all this crit is we have a lot of built-in crit on the sword and shield, not just through the mastery tree, but in our gear. So what would I say you could shoot for? I would either do something like I do, so you get the 50 dex, the 100 int, 150 con, or you could just drop all this int, maybe put it into con if you really wanted to go a 200 con setup, or you could go into some strength. Totally your choice. If you want to be more damage oriented, go for it. If you want to do a little bit more with the Ice Gauntlet, do the int. If you want to be tankier, pump more con, like always. But this is what I would suggest. So now for gearing, I want to show this again. So we have this 5% chance to crit. We get this 10% crit hit damage. We then have it built into our sword and shield. We get another 10% chance to crit. And then what am I doing? I try to run as much as I can on my sword and shield. I have Vicious here, so I have more crit hit damage. And then I have my shield has keen and vicious, meaning I have 22% crit damage and another 11% between the sword and shield. This is why it's so good. And then when I crit, I get an empower. So we can pump pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we're more of a setup and CC monster. So what am I doing for gearing here? I did say, if you want to look at all my gear here, I tried a lot of different things. So for gearing, the loadout wise, I went medium. It's just gonna work the best. It's heavy helmet, medium chest, heavy gloves, light pants, medium boots. So I went void vent just for PvP purposes. On my chest, I just went some int and I got healing tomb. So that's really nice when I have my ice block up and I can just get a nice 10% heal if I need it. Then in tier 2, I took Deadly Frost. So we get a nice dot whenever we get somebody rooted. Constant, persistent damage. I love it. I then took Fortifying Shield Rush on the pants. And then on the boots, we have our Unending Thaw so that we can keep them rooted after they've touched our Ice Storm. This is fantastic when people are really far away. So in this setup, you'll see you can set up this Ice Storm, hit them with a heavy attack, root them, close the ground with your Leaping Strike, shield bash them, and then by that point, somebody will catch up and you can root them to then with the Ice Shower as soon as you shield bash them. Really fantastic. It's incredible to have that perk. I would highly recommend it. Then the neck, Infinity Crystal. This is so easy to get, and for these strength builds, why not use it? Basically Abyss roll. I wish we didn't have Fortified for this one because we really don't have any Fortified. So you could consider going Fortifying on the Ice Gauntlet so that you don't have to worry about it, but doesn't really matter. This is just a really good solid roll. Then I took Smooth Bone Ring, Hardy Keen Awareness. When you have Hardy, it's absurd how much you can dash around. I love it. And then the crit chance again, even more synergizing with this sword setup. And then 22 strength. And then I just am using Ill-Gotten Gain like normal because I don't have a regenerating refreshing earring anywhere, but this will work the best for now if you're really looking to find one. I have an old video on that where I first tested my mic if you want to check it out. And then again, here's the sword. The big thing is I take a refreshing move just to maybe set up more CC, but having that Aquamarine for increased ice damage is insane. When we're comboing it, even with only a little bit of int scaling, I tested going 150 int to get more elemental damage. It just wasn't worth it. But when we have that Ice Storm down, it also applies to other players' Ice Storms. So then we still get that ultimate chill proc. And then the Ice Gauntlet doesn't really matter all that much. I just went for one with Scholar that I had. But the big thing is, I would suggest putting an Opal in. So then you dash and then put down your Ice Storm so that it does more damage. Same thing with Ice Pylon and PvE. You dash and then you can put down your Ice Pylon for a little bit more damage on the top. But that's what I would say for gear. Like always, use your Honing Stones, use all that stuff for extra output. And then the food is super important. I've been using turkey thigh with pan gravy and spiced wild berries. That's a mouthful, but it's one of those cheaper foods where you still get 40 stat and then you can just allocate things a little bit differently and it works really well. Cheap, tier 5, perfect. So go ahead and use that for one of your big consumables. All right, everybody, I'm just going to show you what this would theoretically look like in a PvP scenario. Kind of the rotation I would use to lock somebody down, how you would close a gap, and how you should probably open. So I'm going to try and open with Shield Bash. It'll give us the opportunity to get our shower down. So you'll run up, Shield Bash. You now have 3 seconds to root them. They'll run away from you, right? They start to run away. You do some damage. Now you can catch them like this in the back. You can kill them, right? You could either blow them up. That's a huge opportunity if you get some good crits. But let's say you can't. Let's just do another duel and I'll show you. There's a couple of things you can do. So you can duel the player like that. And again, I'm just showing you theoretically. Well, Ravix here's helping me out. Let's say they're far away. What can you do? Well, you can do this and then hit them with a root and then catch them. And then you can get them in a stagger chain and then slow them. And now they're stunned. Then you shower and then you got them locked down, right? Again, you can put out damage. He's in medium armor, so that's an opportunity that you can use. I think the big thing is just being able to actually catch them, get them in a stagger CC chain, and buy enough time that your team can actually help you fight. Now I'm just going to show you what this damage might look like if you just get them straight up in the shower. Just so that I can show you the Aquamarine on the sword. You still do a lot of damage with Shield Bash. And again, when I'm critting, I mean, I'm hitting pretty hard, right? It's nothing too crazy. You have enough survivability to stick out in a couple fights. I'm going to have old Ravix here actually fight me. So I'm just going to say, fight back. So let's actually duel here. You know, maybe they're running at you. You want to get this down. They're still there. You got them locked down now. And now you get them in the stagger chain. And then let's say you dash back. They try to run away. You can do that if you'd hit them. but you can do some pretty high damage. It's more of an assassin style build with some support elements. I know I have to say this is mainly a support build. It's really good in those group scenarios for locking people down, but you do have enough damage to dive in and out and still put out some solid DPS. All right, so for PvE gameplay, here's what I'd do. I'd actually drop down to 100 con because you're going to be in a group, you're not going to need as much health. PvP, it's really important to have more health. And I would actually do my stats like this. I would love to hit the 300 grip bubble if I was soloing things for the strength, but I think this is going to be better. I ended up just throwing 50 more points into int to get that bubble and have that extra elemental damage. I think that's going to outvalue the 200 strength, and we still get that scaling. So I'm going to just show you kind of a gameplay demonstration. So I'll commit that. And I did change up my skills a little bit. You'll see now I have Whirling Blade and I have Ice Pylon. Ice Pylon, you need to put it in a good spot so it doesn't blow up, but here's how I would actually run this. I'd start off by putting my Pylon down. I would then put Ice Storm down, and then I just start fighting. Try and play in your ice. You'll do more damage if they're inside. We apply another Rend there. That kind of replaces our Ice Wall Rend. And it's a little bit more tough to solo things, but you certainly can. We have the CC. If you ever need to, throw down your Entombed. You can heal up, and pretty easy, just like that. Your Pylon will keep shooting things. That's one thing you have to be aware of. So here, let's just regen a little bit of health. We use our Entomb. We get that 1,000 heal because we have healing Entomb. And here we go. We'll do that. Into a stun is always nice if you need to set some things up. A dash to get my Opal proc on my Ice Gauntlet. These guys have a little bit more health, but it's just like this. And I'll just show you. I'll hit a little health pot here just for safety. I got the time. We'll put down Pylon for extra damage. And again, that's just free damage that you're seeing there. Why not? We can throw the block up. I play a little bit aggressive just because I'm used to it. I can sit there. I get some Empower. I get some Empower. I can stun, buy some time, do this. And I look. This is back up. We'll wait. Do this for a quick heal. For safety, I block some of those shots. And then again, we're just doing this. These bosses have a little bit more health. I'm not actually sure why. Apply that Rend. I miss. That's totally fine. But again, this is pretty much the gameplay if you're soloing. It's a little bit tougher to solo, but I think there's a lot of viability in a group format. And I'll talk about that in a second after this fight. So it's really good. We can get our Fortifying Shield Rush there. Get a Rend applied. I should have blocked there. That's totally on me. But I can buy that time. You can play on low health. You'll be fine. And then again, if I ever need to, play a little bit close there. You get this. And then you just wait. Ice Pylon can do some damage. Get that 1,000 heal. Put that down and you can kite around, right? I can do this. Then stun. And then big Empower. We should be fine. Ice Pylon will finish off the work. I'll just watch. Sit there. Maybe I'll die. Just finish them off. So it's a little bit of a tougher time soloing things. But why do I think this build has a lot of potential? For one, I think you can change some things up, but I think with mutators coming, a lot of people are sleeping on Sword and Shield DPS. Why is that? Leadership. Giving the entire group 10% more damage, I think is insane. We still have some solid DPS. You can definitely do some things to tweak this, and maybe don't even run an Ice Gauntlet, obviously, but having a Sword and Shield in your meta comps for mutators, I think could be huge. Increasing that damage of everybody except for yourself, even if you're doing a little bit lower, having your two really big juicer DPS just do 10% more, your healer does 10% more, your tank does 10% more. I think that's going to go a longer way than just bringing in a third pretty juiced up DPS for the most part. And obviously there's things you can change. So I would say if for this build, it is great in a group setup as a support specifically for bringing leadership. That's the real big thing. But in general, build it, try it out, let me know what you think about it. Alrighty, so this is my version of the Winter Soldier. It's a little bit different, maybe more of a wacky Wednesday, but I decided let's put it on a Monday. So it's a pretty high damage, more of a support, some assassin-y elements for PvP. I've got a ton of CC. I can slow and weaken things there. I've got that Ice Pylon still doing damage. I need to buy a little bit of time. I do this. But it's really fun to play. It's definitely different vibe. And I think it has a lot of room for being a solid PvE addition when mutators come because of that 10% damage boost that it brings. So definitely give it a shot. I think there's things we can do to optimize it, but I really enjoyed this build. So thank you all for watching today. Again, I appreciate all the support you could give me. If you keep doing that weird YouTube stuff, you like, comment, subscribe, I would appreciate it greatly. Ring that bell. Join our Discord. Follow me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, all linked. And if you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon. Thank you to every single one of my patrons. But as always, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening, but thank you, every single one of you, for being you.